The mutant. Among all the strange deaths in the X-Men universe, Darwin's in First Class is probably the one that frustrates fans the most. The character had a gift that, in theory, made him practically impossible to kill. He could adapt to any environment or attack in order to stay alive. It was the kind of power that seemed unbeatable and full of potential to be explored in future movies. But then, out of nowhere, he's forced to absorb Sebastian Shaw's energy blast and simply can't handle it. The shock wasn't just because it happened so early in the story, but because it seemed to go against the very logic of the mutant's powers. Even after all these years, this scene is still remembered as a huge waste within the franchise. Loki. If there's one scene that caught everyone by surprise in Avengers Infinity War, it was Loki's death. The movie had barely started. People hadn't even finished adjusting their popcorn when we see the God of Mischief trying to trick Thanos to save Thor. But this time, for the first time, his silver tongue didn't work.
My undying fidelity.
The result? Strangled, brutally and without ceremony, leaving everyone thinking, wait, what? After all, Loki wasn't just a villain or a hero. He lived in that gray area that made us like him even more. Seeing one of the most charismatic characters in the Marvel Universe die right off the bat made it crystal clear that Infinity War wasn't going to go easy on anyone. And well, the movie's ending proved that. Suicide Squad. Captain Boomerang's death in the Suicide Squad 2021 takes a lot of people by surprise because he was one of the main characters in the first movie, and here he dies at the very beginning. During the mission in Corto Maltese, he and the team face complete chaos. In the middle of the confusion, while everyone's trying to survive the collapse of Jotunheim's lab and the madness caused by the alien, Boomerang doesn't make it out alive. He ends up being taken out during the battle, showing that not even jokes and boomerang skills guarantee survival in a mission like this. The moment is quick, but it hits hard. In the end, Boomerang falls as just another victim of the chaos. The final snap. Man, Iron Man's death in Avengers Endgame was one of those unforgettable MCU moments. From the start of the movie, you could already feel the weight of what was at stake. Tony begins lost in space, almost without hope, but then makes it back to Earth. And even though he wants to leave the hero life behind and live peacefully with his family, he gets pulled back in because deep down he knows nothing will work without him. And then comes the most painful part. When the Avengers finally gather all the Infinity Stones, the only one strong enough to snap is the Hulk, and he does it, bringing everything back to normal. But just a few scenes later, it's Stark who ends up having to deliver the final blow. In the middle of the chaos, with Thanos about to win, Tony makes that quick move and steals the stones from the gauntlet. His line before the snap has already gone down in movie history, but that act of heroism comes with the highest price of all: his life. It's impossible not to get a lump in your throat watching him say goodbye, broken and fading, while the other heroes, and Pepper herself, try to comfort him. The funeral then wraps everything up with the perfect bittersweet ending and plenty of tears. It was the most painful death in the Marvel Universe because, beyond the loss, it marked the end of an era. Impaled. Logan's farewell is one of those scenes that keeps replaying in any superhero fan's head. Wolverine had already been through it all. Bullets, explosions, experiments, enemies of every kind. But this time, the fight was different. He was older, worn out, and even with his healing factor still working, he wasn't the same unstoppable warrior anymore. The final battle happens against a younger, more brutal version of himself, X-24. While trying to protect Laura and the other kids, Logan fights with everything he has left, but the physical difference is overwhelming. In a desperate moment, X-24 breaks free and impales Logan on a massive tree branch, causing a wound that even Wolverine can't survive. The scene hits hard because it shows the hero who was always practically indestructible finally being struck down in an irreversible way. It's cruel but also poetic because he dies fulfilling the role he always wanted, protecting the ones he loves. For fans, it was a shock to see this ending, but also a farewell worthy of one of Marvel's most iconic characters. Years later, another version of him returned to the Marvel Universe. Now it's just a matter of waiting to see what they'll do. The final silence. Can you imagine dying from the inside out? Well, that's exactly how Black Bolt lost his life in one of the most agonizing agonizing scenes in the Marvel Universe. During the meeting with the Illuminati on Earth 838, Black Bolt and the others try to hold Wanda back, thinking they can stop more multiversal disasters. But Wanda, completely consumed by the Darkhold, shows up and wipes out the team with shocking brutality. Black Bolt is taken out instantly when his own sonic scream reverberates inside his skull after Wanda removes his mouth, proving that not even a voice that can destroy worlds can defend against such a direct, unexpected attack. The impact is stronger because the audience knows Black Bolt as someone imposing and almost unbeatable. Seeing him fall without a chance to react just reinforces the level of threat Wanda represents in this movie. And on top of that, his death serves as a reminder that in the multiverse, power doesn't mean safety. Even the strongest can be taken down in an instant. Multiverse Massacre. Jumping back into Multiverse of Madness, Scarlet Witch's battle against the Illuminati is a massacre of epic proportions. Consumed by the Darkhold and obsessed with reuniting with her children, Wanda attacks this alternate group of heroes with brutal, unstoppable force. The Illuminati, including alternate versions of Professor Xavier, Mr. Fantastic, Black Bolt, Captain Carter, and Captain Marvel Rambeau, underestimated Wanda, believing they could easily contain her. But their arrogance turned fatal. Each member is taken out in a cruel way. Black Bolt, as you saw earlier, has his mouth erased and his sonic scream explodes his own head. Mr. Fantastic is basically shredded. And Captain Carter is split in half trying to use her shield. Xavier tries to confront her mentally, but he too is killed. This shocking sequence highlights Wanda's transformation into an almost unstoppable force, raising the stakes of the movie and showing the urgency for Strange and Chavez to stop Scarlet Witch before her hunger for power causes even more destruction across the multiverse. Torch went out. In Deadpool and Wolverine, the story dives into a chaotic, multiversal adventure full of time travel, hero variants, and insane clashes with powerful enemies like Cassandra Nova. Wade Wilson finds himself right in the middle of this mess, trying to save his own timeline while teaming up with a Wolverine from another timeline to face threats that could wipe out entire universes. Among everything that happens, one of the most striking moments was the appearance of Chris Evans. I was like, wow, they brought Captain America back. But well, that's not what happened. The death of the Human Torch, Johnny Storm, in this movie is especially brutal and unforgettable. During a battle in the Void, Storm, Deadpool, and Wolverine are captured. When confronted by Cassandra, Deadpool, in his usual way, says that Storm had talked a lot of trash about her. And well, this happens. The scene shows just how vulnerable even the most powerful can be, and the way Johnny is attacked with no chance to defend himself highlights the cruelty of the universe they're in. Only in the post-credits scene does the truth come out. Johnny Storm had insulted and provoked Cassandra Nova directly, which led straight to his own death.
And I'll tell you who her is. Cassandra Nova, a megalomaniacal psychotic asshole. A finger-licking, dead-inside pixie slap, a third-rate dime-store nut-milk. And I'll tell you what she can do.
The revelation clears Deadpool's name, but it doesn't soften the emotional impact of the loss, making it clear that in Deadpool's multiverse, even the most iconic heroes can face brutal, unexpected deaths. The end of Quicksilver in Avengers. Age of Ultron, the story follows the heroes as they face the threat of Ultron, an artificial intelligence created by Tony Stark and Bruce Banner that decides humanity must be exterminated in order to achieve peace. With Sokovia becoming the battleground for his ambition, the Avengers have to face not only Ultron and his army of robots, but also the Maximoff twins, Wanda and Pietro, who initially fight against the heroes driven by anger and resentment towards Stark. But once they discover Ultron's true intentions, they switch sides. Amid destruction and intense battles, courage and sacrifice become essential to stopping the impending disaster. The death of Quicksilver Pietro Maximoff is one of the most impactful moments of the film. Showing all of his superhuman speed and determination, he throws himself in front of a barrage of bullets fired by Ultron to protect Hawkeye and a child, turning his own body into a human shield.
You didn't see that coming.
The sacrifice is immediate and brutal. Pietro doesn't survive the gunfire, and his loss is deeply felt by the Avengers. The moment highlights not only his bravery, but also the cruelty of the conflict. His death serves as an emotional trigger, uniting the heroes in their final fight against Ultron, and leaving a deep void in the life of his sister Wanda, who still had a long journey ahead in the Marvel Universe. Rorschach's honor. Rorschach was always the most uncompromising of the Watchmen, a man who lived by his own moral code, even if the world saw him as a criminal. Throughout the movie, his investigation leads him to the truth about Ozymandias and the twisted plan that would cost millions of lives in order to save humanity from nuclear war. When the conspiracy is finally revealed, Rorschach refuses to stay silent. For him, the truth had to come out, no matter the price. At the icy Antarctic base, face to face with Dr. Manhattan himself, Rorschach meets his destiny, while everyone else gives in to the idea that sacrificing millions is the only way to avoid total destruction. He stands firm. His inkblot mask, a reflection of his unshakable worldview, symbolizes his refusal to bow down to lies. Dr. Manhattan, a practically omnipotent being, realizes there's no middle ground. If Rorschach lives, the truth will come out, and Ozymandias' plan will collapse. And then the most powerful moment happens. Rorschach won't accept it. He begs for justice, even if it costs him. In an instant, the blue energy engulfs him and he's disintegrated without a trace. This death isn't just the end of a character. It's proof that Rorschach stayed true to his principles until the very last second. He chose death over betraying his values, turning his fall into one of the most striking and brutal moments in Watchmen. The Dark Phoenix. In X-Men: The Last Stand, Jean Grey, who had sacrificed herself in the previous film, returns transformed into the Phoenix, a cosmic entity of absolute power that amplifies not only her mutant abilities, but also her deepest fears and emotions. The Phoenix's strength is uncontrollable and unpredictable, making Jean at once the greatest ally and the greatest threat to everyone around her. The climax of the movie is a brutal display of that power. Jean, consumed by the Phoenix, attacks without discrimination, destroying everything, injuring allies, and wiping out enemies with devastating force. The movie's high point shows just how unstoppable the Phoenix was. Jean, overtaken by this cosmic being, becomes a villain no one can control or defeat. With powers so overwhelming she can barely think straight anymore. She crushes everything, even hurting her friends, and destroys her enemies with a force so terrifying it feels like she could wipe out the world with her mind alone. It's like her heart is a volcano, erupting nonstop. Wolverine, watching Jean's destruction and total loss of control, realizes there's no other choice. The only way to stop an even bigger massacre is to confront her directly. Every moment of their fight is full of tension, with Jean battling her own mind while her Phoenix form grows in strength and rage. At the decisive moment, Jean seems to regain a shred of her consciousness and she uses Logan's claws to end the Phoenix threat, accepting her own death in order to save her friends and the world she loved. The scene is devastating. Jean's life slips away, along with the hope of full redemption and the balance between her humanity and the destructive force she carried. Her death isn't just a physical act, but a deep emotional tragedy. But tell me, which one of these deaths hit you the hardest? Did any of them ever make you cry? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more. See you soon!